good morning. Welcome to the 12-week year. I'm gonna pop a collar because I got a new haircut. Yay! Um, it's so 80s. I'm so 80s. So anyway, you're gonna get this because you're in the 12-week year. For those of you who are in our Prosperity Scholar, you're also getting this because today's word is one that I use a lot in prosperity mindset, and that word is intentional. Intentional. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about it in the 12-week year. So again, what this week I talk about is, what are you celebrating? It's really saying, hey, what's a question, right? What are you celebrating this week? And really looking at what you're celebrating in your process, right? That this is your opportunity to grow in community with loving grace and integrity, and you're learning a whole bunch of stuff. And one of the things that everybody's learning is how to be intentional. And in the 12-week year, it is to say, here are the systems that I'm going to put into place, right? This and this and this and this and this and this. And then you're going to follow that. And you're learning to keep a promise to yourself. And what ends up happening is that if you can actually keep your word to yourself, it changes everything. Because if you're somebody that always overrides it, I'll put me later, I'll put this last, it just doesn't work as well. And what ends up happening is a lot of you realize that you needed to do more foundational work on loving number one, right? You are number one in your life. No one's going to win your dream for you. And that you get to have this wonderful life. And it means that you have to be intentional. And when I think about intentional, again, it's really saying, so how do I explain intentional? I wrote myself a small list to keep reminding you, right? It is organized. It is elected, right? We elected to do something. So when you're saying, right, I'm building tactics, I'm putting not just goals, but I'm putting tactics of like, how would I reach that goal? And then I'm doing the tasks underneath that to say, here's what I'm going to have. And we've also talked about lead and leg, right? So these are the things that will lead me towards this goal that's kind of back here, right? So I'll give you an example. If I just stop eating garbage, it could lead down the road to the fact that I don't have a body that looks like a cheeseburger, right? So it's just lead versus leg, right? The things that I do every single day lead to a goal that's a little bit back here. And I have to be intentional to do that. And I have to be intentional to say, I've got to be organized. I'm electing. I'm putting my vote in with forethought. It is self-imposed. And when we talk about self-esteem, right, it's holding the self in esteem, but it's also saying, I'm going to give this direction, this organized item, this forethought into myself, my highest capital S self, that I'm going to impose this onto myself. Let's think about that for a minute, right? It's self-imposed. It is saying my capital S self, right? This is what I'm putting in. This is the promise that I'm keeping. This is something I'm asking for. When it is self-imposed, it is I'm asking it, and I'm asking it for my highest good. And that's really interesting, and it's pre-agreed upon, right? So when I'm saying to you, you have to be intentional about what you're doing, how you're spending your time, what you're putting into your mouth, what you're putting into your mind, what you're putting into your time, the way that you are responding to people, responding to yourself, it is intentional. What it's not accidental, it's not random, it's not this mislabeling of adventure, right? It's really to say that I don't want my life to be reckless and non-purposeful. And sometimes when we are feeling lost, that's why we feel non-purposeful. It's because we haven't elected to say, this is what my highest self needs, right? That's what self-imposed is. And what I remind people about is sometimes the word itself and the things that rhyme with it all live in the same little community. So when I think about intentional, I think about the words that also rhyme with that, right? Intentional. What rhymes with intentional? Professional, exceptional, uh, emotional, intestinal. unconventional, and dimensional. So I'm going to really look at those kind of words, right? If you want a professional life and you want to make more money and to do all these things, you have to be intentional. You have to be intentional. So professional and intentional, they rhyme. They rhyme for a reason because they're in the same party. When we look at exceptional, if you want an exceptional life, guess what? You've got to have some intentional. You've got to have that forethought, and you have to elect to do that. I wrote intentional in there as a rhyme word because a lot of times you actually know when you're not doing it, right? Because we get this gut feel either to or from. So one of the things about intentional that I'm going to really encourage you to do is to go, oh, what is it in rhyme with that is in the same camp? And intestinal is when we know in our guts that something's not right for us, or we know in our guts that we've been avoiding, or we know in our guts that there's some truth in a different way. So one, I want to give you that permission slip in your intentional that if you're getting a physical reaction to what you're doing and you're going, I'm feeling that real in my centrifuge of me, that maybe there's more conversation on that. What I mean by unconventional is that it is an act of rebellion to love openly, to love yourself, to love your journey, to love what you are creating in the world. It is an act of rebellion. It is unconventional to tell the truth. For those of you who follow my writing or watch me in community, it's unconventional to be all the parts of who we are. And that also is where dimensional comes from, right? And it's also where emotional comes from, that we are, I believe, right? I believe that emotions have a lot of merit for us. They're not something we have to numb down, but they are also tools that help us. They help us understand our own truth. They help us understand how we should be organized. They are other ways for us to read ourselves and to understand what we've asked for and what we haven't asked for. So intentional is also this place where we are dimensional. If you are someone who is trying to build the dimension in yourself, that there are many parts of you, and that is very true for the 12-week year. That's very true for the people that I hang around with, because the people that are, watching this video are people that I hang around with and that I really like, because I'm building this for you and me, right? So that we can have all of the conversations. And that dimensional part is that many of you are creating on multiple levels. It's not like you're just going, oh, I'm just going to stay in my tiny square and stay tiny. No, that's not what you're doing. That you all are saying, oh, wow, there's many facets of me and I'm going to enjoy that, right? So this little square, even though it's safe to stay in this tiny cube, but that's not actually what you're going to do in this lifetime, right? That you're going to fan out and become all of you, and all of you in a way that you have elected, right? That you're going to organize it. It's not an accident that you're amazing. It's not some accident that you are this beautiful light bound being that you are. So, enjoy that. So intentional is the thing. Here's my quick, cards on what I'm doing. So your cheat, like how can I get this for you to be faster? Is a lot of times you guys are fighting your calendars or things that are piling up and the situation, right? So life piles up on us because we have a lot of life. So it's really saying, look, what's the thing I can do in the morning to stay on my goals? And one of the ways that I often tell people is just to go, here are your cue cards that you can just set up on what it is that you're there to do, right? Today, I am going to prioritize. It's just an overarching item that you can just go, what am I focusing in on today? And it's easier to do that for those of you who are doing daily planning or weekly planning, it is to say, look, here's the natural time to do that. And sometimes we also have a natural energy. And sometimes, I don't know, the universe is just available to different things that are on your list on a different day. that sometimes things that they just are available, so that the universe just kind of aligns for you on that day. It's intentional, but it's intentional in a different way, right? I've wanted that. I've organized my life to be that way. I've elected to have that happen, but for whatever reason, the road is clear today. So a lot of times that's checking in with yourself in the morning and really just going, okay, what feels right? And and I love the tips that you guys are giving each other in class on just breathing techniques or taking a minute in the morning. But again, these are just 3x5 cards. It's a way for you to just write yourself a note that you can use over and over again, and just to kind of go, look, out of these kind of several tactics or things that I need to focus on, which one of these cards matches the real of the day, right? So I'll give you an example. When I'm at my desk and I have 12 hours of calls, it's really hard to say, oh, I have to focus on my health goal. Well, my health goal is that I'm chained to my desk. What is it that I can do at my desk that can make this work, right? So if I'm focusing on that, it may be that I'm going to work on something that I can do in my health goal that's also in in agreement, right? It's in agreement to the day that I'm having. So sometimes being intentional is to say, here are my goals. Here's the reality of my day. Now let me go. What am I have to focus on? If I'm focusing in on, oh, these are upside down. Awesome. If I'm focusing in on my health goals, then I have to go, okay, well, what are the health goals I can focus in on while I'm chained to my desk? And being chained to my desk means that I can, like, that's when I do my stairs goals, that in between each calls I'll like quick run up and down the stairs, or that it might be to make sure that I have a really healthy lunch that's delivered, that there's something else that you can do to do that. And sometimes that is, again, Angela gave us to us in class the box breath, which is count on the 4 in, count on the 4 out, right? It's just a simple box breath. Ah, right? It's breathing in at the count of 4 and breathing out at the count of 4, right? Something like that is still in resonance with what my goals are. I can still be intentional and match my calendar and match this kind of overarching piece of today I'm going to do that. And then what happens at the end of the day, right? Because we've written down our tactics and our goals. At the end of the day, you get to measure that. And that is where you learn to keep the promises to yourself. And every single time that you see that, even in that situation where I was too busy or this or that, you'd put in tactics where you can still achieve. And that is that you've kept your promise in any way that you can, right? And that you've thought of new ways, new tactics, new tools to be able to do what's important to your future. Intentional, intentional. So, on that note, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being willing to love yourself at a whole new level. Thank you for putting yourself in your intention, to be able to say, look, I'm willing to self-impose. I'm going to put something in the pot, into my sphere, into my bubble, into my day, into my organization. I'm going to elect for the capital S self, right? I'm going to self-impose things that are supportive, that I'm going to pre-agree with myself on. And then I'm going to keep my promise. And that is, right, when we look at those rhymes, right? Professional, exceptional, dimensional, emotional, intestinal, but they're unconventional. So you are living that piece where you are saying, look, this is radical. This is radical. Loving openly is radical. Loving yourself openly is radical. And so don't forget, you are making great things. So this is not a non-purposeful life that you're leading. And that is radical, because most people are just bopping around without much thought. And that's not the life that you've chosen. So thank you for that. And that's why I keep showing up for you, right? And that's why I keep showing up, because when we're all able to do great things, it's so much easier. It's so much more fun. It's so exciting. And it's also a safe place to fail. The more that you're achieving with people, the more it's safe to fail. This is a weird seesaw of life, but that is what is there. So thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing up in your truth. And telling the group when it's not going well and telling them when it is going well. Because the safer you are to achieve, the safer you are to fail. And that is a pretty magical place. So I will see you very soon. Have a great week. And I will see you in class. Bye.